So, so, you want to be a dungeon master.
That's great. We're here to help. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Justin. This week, you've seen them, you know them, you're familiar with them. We're talking about tropes. These familiar themes can be found throughout storytelling. Hero's journey. Ever heard of it? Listen, gang, at the end of the day, TTRPGs are about telling stories. Recognizing and discussing tropes can help dungeon masters in as many ways as there are tropes. So let's get into it. But first, I understand we got an email.
We did from Kyle D on the email. Kyle asks, so first time DM here, forever player in various systems, D&D, VTM, Daggerheart, Scion, and I had a question about combat, specifically how you guys go about dictating the players that the NPCs are attacking when it is their turn, when it is the NPC's turn. Do you have them attack the closest player, the most strategic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Solid question.
I think
I like this question because it's specific.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like, how do you do combat?
Right.
It's like,
right.
It's like when you're the monster, who do you hit?
Yeah.
I love this question because I also, and still struggle with this every combat. There's going to come times where I'm like, who do I hit?
Yeah.
And there's different ways that I answer that question. And it depends on so many different things. Depends on a myriad of factors.
What is the first thing you take into account when you're going into trying to decide? Because I know what the first thing I go in, but I'm wondering what yours is.
It's definitely like what. If I have to like put one thing above everything else, I think I'm gonna say it's what recently happened in that round. Like what happened in the prior round before coming to my turn.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes it'll be like, okay, during that last round, the barbarian did like 70 damage. Everybody else did like 5. I'm going after the barbarian for those reasons. Or last round, I saw the cleric revivify somebody and cast mask healing work. You know what I mean? Like little things like that. Like, so a little bit of like admitting to recency bias.
Fair. Okay.
What about you?
The first thing I think about is the intelligence stat of the monster that I'm going with, because, you know, a big dumb beast is not going to notice that the cleric did some healing magic or whatever. He's right next to the barbarian. He's going to keep biting the barbarian.
Yeah. You're absolutely
right. I think that when you're going into combat and you're wondering if it's going to be a strategic combat or not, I definitely look at the intelligence stats. Anything above like a 10 or 11 they're probably going to be a little bit more strategic as opposed to a monster or beast, which has like a 3 or a 4, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the biggest things. But then also what you just said about recency bias is definitely a thing. I think if your NPCs are intelligent, then yes, they are going to take these things into account. This fact that this barbarian came through and cut one of their friends in half, yeah, he's going to be a little bit upset about that.
Yeah. I do think that's a thing. And then you can start getting into like the higher level combats when things are supposed to be a little bit more deadly, or when things are supposed to level up with the party. Then you can start to get things a little bit more strategic in your planning of like, this is an enemy. Like before the combat even starts, you go, this is an enemy who would go after the healers, who would be smart enough to go after yada, yada, yada. That way, when it happens, you're like already ready for that.
Right.
There are times where you're like, shoot, I'm in the moment here. I can sit down and kind of try and parse this out and think about what this character would do. But if you're ever like, I don't know, feeling the pressure of time and the urgency of you can always fall back on rolling a dice.
Yep.
Sometimes it is as simple as like attacking who's closest. That is often like what is going to happen because they do present a pretty great threat being so much closer. But
especially
there are
because
times that
opportunity
you'll
attacks are a
supersede
thing
that.
too.
Yeah, and it
Like it's
obviously
different in
depends on.
Pathfinder and all that stuff where you don't necessarily have that opportunity attack thing, but usually
Not
if
as
it's
often, yeah.
yeah, it's if you're right up on top of the other person, especially I'm just speaking from D&D standpoint, and that enemy tries to run away, they're going to get hit. So depending on what the HP of that enemy is, maybe they can't run away without accidentally getting jacked up.
Right, which leads me to my next point of like also will depend on the abilities of that monster. Like what
Mhm.
can that monster do? Is it possible for that monster to hit as many people at once? You
Right.
know? If they have spells, like what is their strategy? Are they more likely to subdue their enemy first and then try and do this thing? Like
Hmm.
obviously using an example of like a succubus, classic D&D stat block, it is more likely to try and like use subterfuge and like sneakiness and deception to be able to separate somebody from the party, charm them, and then use them to wreak havoc.
Right.
I think that there's a lot of great resources out there that will handle a lot of this. Granted that a lot of the times they're going to rely on like classic D&D lore, but there's books like I can't remember the full title, but it's like how to use monsters and what would they think or something like that, like what monsters would actually do in battle. I can't
Hmm.
remember the full title, but you're familiar with what I'm talking about kind of.
Yeah.
There's like
Yeah.
a pretty famous supplemental book that's not official D&D publication or anything,
Mm.
but it's really really widely regarded. People like it a lot, and it kind of answers those questions of like if you're fighting with orcs, here's what orcs are more likely to do.
Right.
They're more likely to use numbers, their strength, they're not going to back down as easy, like surrendering isn't as likely versus goblins. They might surrender, they might try and flee. You know what I mean? Like it goes
Hmm.
over all those kinds of things using a lot of the lore. I could recommend some of those things. Um, but yeah, it really is like how in depth do you want to go with these kind of
Right.
questions, and like you can just base it off of intelligence and recency, but you can also base it on like obviously if the NPC villain in the fight has beef with a particular character,
Yeah. That's a
you could
whole.
always make that concession. But that's something that you could also plan in advance, right? Of like,
Mhm.
hey, you guys are going in this fight where you're fighting the Raven Queen's champion, let's say. I have it already set in my mind, like, I don't have to worry about choosing targets for that NPC in the fight. They're going to
Right.
fight Cal for every attack. And that's just
Mhm.
how that's going. Uh, Now, maybe I have like a contingency plan only because I've been playing D&D for this long and I know your guys' strategies a little bit better than maybe just a different table. So
Mhm.
sometimes I could be like, they are going to try and swarm me though. So because he's a ranger, like shooting range stuff, I don't want to be
Right.
disadvantaged for everything. So here's how I do melee stuff. And I have a contingency plan for that just in case.
Right.
But that just comes with experience. This is a solid question though.
Yeah. Great question, Kyle. Thanks for emailing it in.
Yes, if you have questions, you should email them in also at so you
Yes.
want to be a DM at gmail.com. Hell yeah. You can find that link actually right in the description of this podcast or YouTube video, depending on where you're catching us, where you'll also find the link to our link tree, where you can find so many different things, including our Patreon. That's right, gang. Go check out the Patreon. There's all kinds of stuff there, gang. Cool stuff on the way. Cool stuff that's been posted for years and it's just accumulating dust. It's for you. You can use it. Check it out. Let's get into the meat of the episode. Now, today we're talking about tropes.
Tropes.
Tropes, tropes, tropes.
Tropes. Tropes. Tropes. Tropes.
We
Tropes.
love tropes. We
What are
talk
tropes?
about them throughout many episodes, like just
Hmm.
referencing them here and there because uh I know I can speak from my own experience. There's something that I think about often when I am crafting stories and like
Hmm.
especially when I'm at the level of like more broad picture stuff, I'm really
Right.
going deep into tropes where I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I want to do a D&D medical drama. The trope medical drama is like pretty broad.
Hmm. Hmm.
Fantasy medical drama, fantasy, another very broad trope. And then you can get more specific of like, okay, how did the show House handle this trope versus
Right.
and we're gonna get into like the way it could be broken down in trillions of ways.
Mhm.
Do you want to kick us off? Tell us a
Sure.
little bit about
Yeah,
tropes.
let's define tropes first. So tropes, according to the Collins Dictionary, uh, are common, often conventional theme, motif, or style. It's common story elements that you can draw upon from other stories. Because oddly enough, I read this in a book, but every story has pretty much already been told. The names, the places, and the things change, but there are a lot of stories out there, and a lot of stories have pretty much already been told. Just every way you tell it is just going to be a little bit different.
Hmm.
But it's because of that, it's something that everybody at the table has come across, and everybody can kind of latch onto if you leave the breadcrumbs right, where people will be able to catch like the red herring or the, uh, bad guy may or may not be a bad guy, or that type of
Yeah, they'll see
situation.
you see sometimes there's reasons why some people can catch the twist before it happens.
Right.
And it's not necessarily because they're psychic. It's because
Mhm.
they're seeing the writing on the wall that's pointing
Mhm.
them in a direction that they're familiar with.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Um,
It's like it goes back to like evolution of pattern recognition.
mhm.
Like humans over evolution have had to be like, oh, I recognize the patterns on these mushrooms and those are bad. I
Right.
recognize the patterns of these mushrooms and these are good. And just being able to recognize patterns, it's why like we sometimes create tropes and
Mhm.
stereotypes and stuff like
Mhm.
that and
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
cliches and things of that nature, just because it's like built into us to a certain
Right.
degree. Obviously, then society and societal stuff and culture will like take it to another level. But
Yeah, yeah, and I think that there's tropes that could be like there's two big ones, and like there's like character tropes, like tropes of like this person is this kind of maybe they look like a bad guy but maybe not so bad guy, or look like a good guy and they're actually a bad guy. A lot of different just kind of character side things, and then there's also like the storytelling tropes of like we're getting caught in a time loop, or something along those lines, where it's like the characters are different but the story is pretty much the same. Everybody's seen Groundhog's, well, a lot of people have seen Groundhog's Day, so you kind of know what a time loop is.
yeah,
um
I think that those are two really good examples, the different types of tropes, because I think there's two different ways of thinking about the creation of stories a
mhm,
little bit too. Like it makes me think of this is like a very related and yet I don't know, connection here that I'm making of uh conversations I've heard about improv, about like when
mm,
you're creating improv and you're trying to like create a scene, if you will, or like if you were writing a script or something, you can start like there are some improv studios or theaters or whatever groups where like their philosophy, if you will, is more like character based.
right.
It's like it's not necessarily about the story. It's like this character is something. I saw a person at the airport who was doing an interesting thing and now I've created a character based on that. And then
Mhm,
there's other ones that have a school of thought that it's a little bit more story centered, where it's like the bit, and the bit isn't necessarily like one character. It's like having an interesting thing happening at a funeral and a wedding or something. It's
right,
like
right,
that
right,
kind of
right.
thing where it's not the character, it's the story, and vice versa. It can go both ways. I've heard
Mm,
of that with like there's Upright Citizens Brigade, and then there's like groundlings in different places, and some
right.
places have like their own philosophies. This is coming from somebody who's never taken like an improv class, so take everything with a grain of salt. But that's been my understanding of
Mhm.
how people approach something like improv differently. And I think that it's when you're mentioning characters versus stories in terms of tropes, I was like, damn, that actually sounds just like this.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, it really is. I mean, you can start with the characters, and the characters will inform the story, or you can start with the story, and the story will inform the characters.
Hmm. Love it.
Just kind of
Love it.
depends. But let's get into some of the classic character tropes. like
Yeah.
character side of things. And I'll start with one of my absolute favorites, and that is the hidden evil character
Okay.
who might just look like a silly old man, but really is like a big bad, and he's sitting there trying to make people like lead them down the wrong path, or trying to mess with the party in general. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and the way that I normally play them is with a silly voice of some sort, because nobody ever checks the silly voice character. Justin knows this for a fact.
Yeah.
Um,
I've used this. I've used this
Definitely. Yeah,
many,
yeah,
many
yeah.
a time.
Yeah, 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 definitely. And also, they always look old. Well, not always, but they could be just like a
It
somebody.
helps.
Yeah, somebody. The goal is to get the party to drop their guard with this character,
Yeah.
and then have it bite them in the big booty.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so you can use all kind of different people for that kind of thing. That is definitely one of my favorite things to do.
I do love that. It's very fun because it just is
Y-
like there's something we love about twists.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is exactly. Maybe it's just like we love defying expectations. It's
Hmm.
why like sometimes certain stand up or horror can like hit you so hard because you're not expecting the thing. If you were, then the horror wouldn't hit as hard, the comedy wouldn't
Hmm.
hit as hard.
Right.
And I think that's kind of maybe gearing towards the reasoning for like why do we like twists so much?
Yeah.
Defying expectations. And I think obviously this character trope falls under that. So you have to ask yourself of like what is the true essence of this character? They're actually evil. They're
Hmm.
planning these things. Maybe they're really intelligent. Whatever it is, very strong. Maybe they're not physically strong, but maybe they are. Like however you're characterizing their true self, and then
Hmm.
you have their facade, and that's
Yeah.
kind of what you're playing with here. And
Yeah.
in the same way, I see here that you have the word red herrings written down as
Yes.
well. Can you explain to those who don't know and who have never seen a pup named Scooby Doo what a red herring
Red
is?
herring. A red herring is, I don't know actually where the phrase started. I want to say probably like a Agatha Christie novel or some shit like that, I would imagine.
I'm gonna
But
look it up. Yeah.
a red herring is technically, it's something that looks like a clue, but it's actually not, and it actually leads the party down the wrong path. So again,
Yeah,
this is it's is it Agatha Christie?
no, I don't think
No.
so. Hold
Okay.
on. But I was agreeing with your point of it's like um it's not just like you were already saying this, but it's not
Yeah.
just like an incorrect clue. It's specifically a clue that is misleading or like
Right.
wasting of time. Like it brings them in the
Exactly.
wrong direction, distracts them.
Yes.
Um, but it
That's
was
another.
the
Yeah.
polemicist. What does that word mean? Crazy. Anyway, English polemicist William Cobbett, who told a story of
Mm.
having used a strong smelling smoked heron to divert and distract hounds from chasing a
Ah.
rabbit.
Okay.
So that was the
So
idea,
there
the
we go.
smell
Yeah.
of getting hounds off
Mm-hmm.
track. So kind of literally
Okay,
plays
yeah,
into it
literally
perfectly.
exactly what we're talking about. Because I yeah, and I think that also this hidden evil NPC really lends itself very well to giving off red herrings. If you're,
Because it's like the reverse, where like
yeah.
you're almost intentionally putting walls up to make them be like this is the evil guy. So this would be the
Hmm.
complete opposite of what we were just saying of like the kooky fun old man who's like, "Hey guys, hey kids, how's it going?" And just like that
Hmm.
guy's evil actually. His
Right.
facade is goofy old man. He's actually very evil. Whereas the red
Hmm.
herring, one of the ways you could do a red herring at least is the opposite where like on the exterior they're like, "Kids, what are you doing on my lawn?" But actually, they have a heart of gold. They're sweet as
Hmm.
hell. They like, there's a
Hmm.
reason they're a little curmudgeony. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Right. Right.
very
Right.
typical. We've seen that trope a million times, right? The
Hmm.
curmudgeony old man who with a heart of gold. The movie
Yeah.
Up, heard of it?
Ah,
Hello. Not that he's a red herring, obviously, but he does play
Home
that like
Alone.
curmudgeon,
Hmm.
heart of gold role.
Yeah.
Uh,
Home Alone does it a bunch too with the old people. There's the old guy in the first one, and then the pigeon lady in the second one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looks evil,
Exactly.
actually very helpful.
Yeah. It's
Um,
always really funny.
yeah. So the next one is kind of just a quick, like, this is what most BBEG things are, and I actually found a name for it, and it's called the hate sync.
Mm,
Basically, it is a character that is designed to be hated. Like,
mm,
you show him, like, the party scries on him and he's like kicking a puppy, or like just being just a bad guy. And it's one of those characters that's very easy to hate. Um,
yeah.
for me, it's hard to play these characters because I don't like being a bad guy.
Yeah. This is an interesting one because I do agree that this is a common trope, and it's especially true in fiction
Hmm.
and nonfiction, of course, right? We all fucking hate Hitler. So, like, easy to hate sink the shit out of them, right?
Right,
Like,
right.
and then by translation, the TTRPG Eat the Reich, pretty easy to get players involved and be like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
motivated and engaged. However, it's an interesting thing for other collaborative storytelling in the sense that, like, obviously the way that we play and the way that a lot of our friends play, there's like boundaries involved. There's a lot of like session zero of communication of just like, what are we willing to do and not do in terms of the story. And obviously you want to respect all of those things when you're creating a character that is an I hate sync, right? Like,
Right, 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 right.
like obvious things. Cause it's like, cause you could play into the typical like George R. R. Martin and just go like, oh yeah, they literally slaughter babies. Do you hate them now? Or like
Right.
something insane like you, because you can imagine, of course, that there are people in the community who unfortunately are doing exactly this trope by doing things that are like not being done like respectfully or not like with enough information, such as like slavery or like fantasy racism. They're hitting certain topics that it's like you're treading, you're fucking you're on thin ice, mister. You know what I mean? And I say mister because you're probably a dude, if we're being
Let's
real.
be
So
honest.
like
Yeah.
that, just be careful with that kind of shit.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
all. That's my
absolutely.
note here
Absolutely. Yeah.
for
Pay
hate sinks.
attention to, yeah, 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 yeah. Just
But there's
definitely
ways
pay
you can
attention to,
do it.
yeah,
There's
absolutely.
so many ways you can do it. Players are hitting you with their backstories of family members that have been felled. Find a way to make it so that the BBEG ordered that hit, was a part of it, knew
Hmm.
about it, didn't stop it, something. You know what I mean? And now you're starting to point directions. Um, Another like variation on hate, it's not really, I mean, maybe a little bit, is when I found in terms of plot hook reasons of wanting to make a character so that the players hate them.
Hmm.
Uh, not jealousy, excuse me, that was completely wrong. Revenge.
Yeah.
Revenge is a big one. Um, and you can do that in so many ways that aren't problematic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
to think about.
Definitely
But
pay attention to them safety sheets.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, next up, I mean, there's all kinds of tropes across so many different genres too, right? Like
Hmm.
there are certain genres that kind of have a trope that's linked to it a little bit. One example
Right.
would be like fantasy tropes. Uh, and it
Pretty
just
tied
like,
into D&D.
yeah, there's just so many that like we
Hmm.
come to expect, which is why sometimes it's fun to subvert them. And that's a whole nother discussion. But
Right.
like if you just look at Lord of the Rings, which obviously Tolkien is in many ways like he's one of those founding pillars of fantasy. So
Absolutely.
like there's a reason why when we think of elves, we think of from a fantasy, you know what I mean? Like obviously you
Yeah.
can go in the direction of like Herman the dentist
Yeah.
from
There,
like
but
claymation Rudolph the Reindeer.
right,
You know
right,
what I mean?
right.
You can go in that direction of elves, but if not, you're probably going in like they're
The
hot as
tall,
hell, they
the
live
beautiful.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like you're
yeah.
thinking of some things, they're acrobatic,
Long,
they
silky
love nature.
hair. They love it.
Yeah, like you're thinking of
Yeah.
certain things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When you think of a dwarf, you're thinking of, if you're not thinking of like the logistical actual term for somebody with dwarfism, and you're thinking from a fantasy standpoint,
Yeah.
you're thinking where's their beard and Scottish accent?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right?
That's
Like,
been
well,
a
it's
day
got to be
one thing.
braided
Yeah.
and stuff. They live underground, of
Right.
course.
Right.
Like you have to think of all these things. You don't have to, but you tend to because
Mhm.
it's been established. We even think of hobbits in a certain light
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
because of
yeah.
all of these things. So like, yeah, it's just like years and years of
The big
literature have
beautiful
like led us to
elf.
believe these certain things.
Yeah, and the dark brooding ranger that is Aragorn, that's another big trope that a lot of people like to go with because
Yeah,
he's just so fucking cool. It's really tough to have a whole table of those kind of guys, though. It's tough to have a whole
it can
table
be.
of
Yeah, you have to
brooding
remind them
warriors.
that Aragorn actually would make it pretty easy
Right,
because Aragorn is a team player.
right.
In the beginning, Strider is a little bit of a hard ass, but Aragorn is a good guy and he likes the team. Okay. He literally fights to get Frodo and the hobbits back. Okay.
Right,
So
right.
like he wants the team. He likes the fellowship.
Mhm.
But another example I was thinking about when you brought up the idea of doing an episode on tropes was kids on bikes.
Oh
Because
yeah,
kids on bikes
it's literally called tropes.
talk about tropes. Yeah, I mean the their version of like a classes or like a playbook or something like
Mhm.
that. Obviously, it's insanely. We've done it already. It's insanely easy to just create your own because you're just assigning the dice and answering some questions,
Right.
giving some strengths and stuff. But all of their playbooks, if you will, are called tropes. So everything from brilliant mathlete to blue collar worker, popular kid, prom royalty, animal lover, mysterious transfer, seasoned babysitter, goody goody, freakazoid. Like
Yeah.
it's right out of John Hughes' film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's Breakfast
And
Club and 16 Candles.
yeah, and you can
The
apply
jock.
the
Like,
yeah, you can apply those tropes to anything too. Like it doesn't necessarily have to stay kids on bikes related. You can use the lovable idiot as a fantasy character.
yeah,
You can just it just kind of informs how that character acts.
absolutely. You're 100% right. Anybody could, if they had kids on bikes, like could make a D&D character. Oh, I'm
Mhm.
going to play a
This is
paladin
the
and
mechanical
then go
shit. And then
goody
yeah.
goody. I'm a paladin who's a goody goody.
Mhm.
That's a big stretch of the
Surprise,
imagination
surprise.
there. And then they have little questions here where you can go, why does approval from adults mean so much to you? Because obviously you're kind of meant to be a teen in most of these games,
Yeah.
but you could just change the word adults to something else. Why do you need so much approval from the gods or from
Right.
the king or whoever? You know what I mean?
Right,
And then
right,
answer
right.
that question helps inform why your paladin is a goody goody.
Mhm.
Um, I think that like through media, you recognize so many tropes, right?
Yeah.
Like anime does it a lot. We're used to so many different kinds of main characters who have so
Protagonist.
many different kinds of tropes. Obviously, there's trillions of storytelling tropes, but I don't want to get into that yet. I almost
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
I almost
yeah.
mentioned the T word, but I didn't yet. Uh,
Yeah.
tournament, but tournament arcs.
Yeah.
God, I can't help myself.
Yeah.
So, um,
But no, the characters themselves have embody a lot of tropes, especially the main characters generally do. Like Midoriya in My Hero Academia is the kind of shy newcomer trope of not really
yeah,
being part of the world and then being thrust into the middle of it at the top. And
yeah,
that is a trope for sure of a
yeah.
character. He's unsure
Bakugan,
of himself. Yeah.
another huge trope, like overly cocky, a little bit of a bully, but it does secretly have like that heart of gold.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, there's so many side characters in so many of those shows where they have to kind of lean into some tropes and stuff. They also use other techniques to like separate the characters. I've mentioned
Mhm.
it in clips in the past of like Shikamaru being an example. Like he says this is a drag so often that you come to just like really associate that with this character to
Uh,
where like even though Naruto the show has like 30,000 characters, you can remember some of them and find your favorites and stuff because there is like a repeatability to how they're portrayed.
Yeah.
Not to mention, like, most of the time, other than when like arcs change and like they age up and they change art styles maybe slightly, like their outfits, most of the
Mhm.
time they're wearing like the same clothes. They have the same colors on. They
Yeah.
like they use very similar like phrasing and stuff so that you come to like recognize this person.
Mhm.
Uh yeah, I've noticed that a lot with anime. It's like a really common thing with characters of like the repeatability of
Yeah.
like this character says this phrase and they're gonna say it all the time. It happens in
Mhm.
Black Clover a lot. Just
Yeah.
like a captain and her subordinate, just like every time they show these two characters, it's the subordinate going, "You're right, Shar. That's a great idea. I've told you 1,000 times. Call me captain. I'm so sorry, Shar. You're right." Every time. Never calls her captain, but every time captain says, "Please call me captain."
Please call me
And
captain.
like
Yeah.
for 5 seasons.
Right.
Like but it's like you come to expect it and now you like know their
Mhm.
character dynamic. Like there's a
Yeah.
reason that character can get away with that and it's because of their bond. And so
Yeah.
you pick up on things because of these little things.
There's another one that just kind of came to my mind of like a silly character trope that I absolutely love. From My Hero Academia. It's Killer Whale or Killer something or other.
Oh
He's
yeah,
the
yeah,
whale
yeah, yeah.
superhero, and he's this big, super big, badass dude. But also, he loves everything that is adorable and cute. Like he is the biggest squishmallow you've ever met, and he always does like
Hmm.
cute little poses and stuff after he does stuff. Like, and everybody around it is thinks it's so cringe and they hate it, and he still does it, and that's why I love him.
Oh yeah. So that's actually a good example. And My Hero Academia makes me think of superheroes in general. There's like
Mhm.
superhero tropes. A good
Mhm.
example of somebody who broke one of those tropes, and I don't want to give all the credit to Stan Lee because I know that there's many people at Marvel, but I know Stan Lee was part of it.
Mhm.
The Beast is a
Yes.
perfect example of both leaning in and leaning out of a trope. All big guys are strong and dumb. Not the
Yes.
Beast. The Beast goes against that. And I
Mhm.
love the Beast for it. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, he's still strong. He's still big. He's still animalistic. And yet he's a genius. And I
Yeah.
fucking love the fact that we're going against. Like, when you think of a lot of like speedsters, who are you picking in your head, right? They're
Mhm.
skinny, they're lithe, they're like kids normally, like they're young, right? Like,
Mhm.
you're never picturing like a massive speedster. Now, of course, there's like a lot of the times they'll explain that as like, oh, it's fast metabolism.
Right.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
could just explain it away because guess what? Super speed doesn't fucking exist. So like we could just explain it away.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's so many tropes even within superpowers of like
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
types
Yeah.
of people to get these superpowers.
Mhm.
Uh it's so interesting.
But yeah, so
Man.
it's good to keep these kind of character tropes on your mind when you're either designing a game or when you're being a player, just because it's good to know the tropes, it's good to have them in your back pocket, and it's also good to have them to subvert. Like we were just kind of talking about, is like having that big scary buff dude who looks like he would be dumb and actually make him, the Incredible Hulk, like Smart Hulk in the Avengers.
Hmm.
Like having the trope there, just like the rules of D&D, it's really good to know the rules of D&D so you can know when to break them. Knowing when the tropes are there, like you need to know the tropes to know how to subvert them.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
it
I think
definitely.
knowing character tropes for me as a dungeon master specifically in the areas that it helps me the most are like when I'm coming up with NPCs, obviously, is
Mhm.
like the first and foremost. But
Right.
there are times when, and it truly depends on how I'm doing things because I like to do things differently. Sometimes I will start writing an idea for a campaign on the story, and other times I'm basing it on the characters. Oops All Healers is one where it did start with characters first. And I found the storytelling trope as a part of it. The medical drama story trope was secondary because it started with healers.
Hmm.
So I have a bunch of designated healers. The trope, although not a necessarily like a storytelling trope, but more of a video game trope, if you will, of like that
Hmm.
team based, I'm the healer of the group.
Right.
like I think I'm trying to think like there are obviously like story times of that. It makes me think of Saving Private Ryan, unfortunately, that really sad scene of the medic dying,
Yeah.
um, of being the healer in the group. It makes me think of battle medics and stuff like that, Hacksaw
Mhm.
Ridge and the like. But when I was thinking of like, okay, I want to do a thing where all of the party are all healers. How do I do that? So I started with characters first, and I was like, what kind of story fits that?
Mhm.
Fits these kinds of characters, and then tied it in.
Right.
So sometimes you can start with character tropes, you know, like sometimes it's like, hey, I want to do one where the whole party are like the elderly, where you guys are like retired adventurers, we're in the
Mhm.
nursing home, and like you get a visit from somebody and it's like one more job. Like that is a
Yeah.
classic character trope. Obviously there's like partly a story trope in there too. There
Yeah. The
sometimes
one
it's like
last
that.
job.
Sometimes
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
in tandem. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? It's hard to have a Western storytelling trope without a cowboy trope. So
Right.
sometimes they
Right.
are going to
Right.
come
Right.
hand in hand, which is why you can play with it. Do the
Mhm.
Western trope, but mix it in with like a British spy. Mix in
Mhm.
cowboys, throw them in fucking London, see what's up. You know, dang,
I
there's
love
a
it.
lot of cobblestone. I don't
I don't
know.
know. But yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to some common storytelling tropes, like the story side of things, because we've talked a lot about the character side of stuff. But for storytelling tropes, this is like stuff that you will use to build out individual adventures, like stuff that things that difficulties that you will present your characters with. And there's a lot of really common ones. The first one, this whole episode kind of came from me and Dale, friend of the show, uh, watching Haven, a TV show called Haven, and
Mm,
it was a time loop episode. And we thought about it, and it's like
mm.
every sci-fi show on the planet that has done more than 3 seasons has a time loop episode.
Wait till I hit you with this. Okay, yes, I
But
agree.
you know what
I
I'm
could not
saying?
agree
Like
more. Mhm.
the time loop and then trying to break the time loop, and that's a very fun I think adventure. It's something very fun that you could put your players in, of having some big catastrophic thing happen and then boom, we're reset back to the beginning of the day. And
Yep.
then because like Eureka does that, another sci-fi show that I love, but Eureka has an episode where it is very much okay, we've seen the end of the world. Okay, now let's go back and try to stop it.
Mm,
You know?
hmm Yeah. Yeah. Cause that makes me now think of how there are speaking of storytelling tropes, there are even way tropes related to storytelling that are based on like how you tell the story or like the editing of the story of
Mm-hmm.
doing like a memento kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a storytelling trope in and of itself, even though
Hmm.
the content can be so different. It could be a murder like Memento. It could be a million things. It could be like
Hmm.
how we won the lottery or something, or you know what I mean? How we lost
Right.
all of our money or anything. But doing that is like a typical storytelling trope of starting with the end and being
Hmm.
like, I guess you're wondering how we got here. That's
Yeah.
so common.
Yeah. Yeah.
A great example. There really are. Yeah.
Um,
I love storytelling tropes because it's just so fun to
mhm.
see. You can see it on players' faces. Everyone recognizes this kind of stuff, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
they have fun because it it ooh, this is a good one. It lowers the bar of entry to interact with the world
Yeah.
because they know because they're not going to know everything that you're thinking about your world building because like unless you're using a slideshow for every single aspect of your world building to show the players literally what you're thinking, like
Right.
usually it's like a shared vision and everybody's going to have a slightly different interpretation of what's actually going on.
Hmm.
So when you introduce these tropes, players you use the phrase that players can latch onto them. And
Yeah.
that's the point I want to reiterate here is that it
Hmm.
is such a nice way for players to be like, oh, okay, we're doing a medical drama. Got it.
Hmm.
That means I can play the janitor character from Scrubs, like Robbie was
Right.
saying in our previous
Right.
episode. So like that kind of stuff. Um, really plays into things.
Mhm. Another common one, at least in the D&D space, and honestly, it's another common like sci-fi fantasy trope, I think, in my mind. It's the reverse Hydra, which is a name that everybody hears thrown around a bunch about, oh, we're doing a reverse Hydra campaign, this, that, and the third. So what a reverse Hydra is it is a creature that over the course of time consumes or kills or takes captures a person from the town, and then all of a sudden nobody in that town even remembers that person existed anymore.
Hmm.
They're just
Hmm.
gone completely. And this is another Eureka episode did this of like, the main party is going around and like they'll see like town of Smoosh Face, whatever, and population. I'm bad at coming up with names on the spot.
The town of Smush Face.
Bush face and
I love it.
population 372, and
Hmm.
then they'll go and do a little bit and then they come across the sign again and it's like population 248. Where'd everybody go? And like it, because the thing of the reverse hydra is that it literally makes it so that those people seem to have never even existed.
Hmm.
And it's a fun trope. It's a hard one to do as a party. I think this is definitely anytime you look it up online and like people talking about how they've done it, definitely is more of a high level campaign type of thing.
Yeah.
You can do it at lower levels, but the kind of like magical mojo and or the level of creatures that would be involved in this are generally higher CR. So it's generally something you want to keep until you get your players to higher level, or just do a high level like one shot.
Yeah. And I'll say sometimes it's called a false Hydra as
False
well.
hydra.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can look up both and they lead to the same place pretty much.
Yeah.
That's how I found it. But I typed in reverse Hydra and one of the things was like false Hydra,
False
but
hydra.
they're
Yeah.
pretty much the same. Um, yeah, it's really interesting. It's definitely you'll see it a lot in D&D circles.
Yeah.
That particular
Talking
trope,
about a
big time.
false hydra campaign or false hydra camp, like one shot adventure
Hmm.
type of deal. But yeah, so just something to kind of keep on your radar of stories that you could use. Another one, as far as storytelling tropes, is kind of meeting up with the the morally gray character and the lesser of two evils type of situation where you guys have a common enemy, and generally if you would come across this person you guys would be it would be on site and you'd be fighting immediately, but
Mm,
because this other thing is going on now you have to work together to solve the problem and kind of see past some of your differences just so that everybody can survive to the next day type of deal.
hmm. 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 Yeah, that one's big.
Mhm.
I like that one a lot. It's the enemy of my enemy. It's partners for now, enemies later. Like
Right.
that, and the way that it's done is done in different ways, and that's the fun thing about a lot of these. Like Groundhog's Day. Not to like bring us back too much,
Yeah.
but like Groundhog's Day as an example is like the backbone. And then how you fill it in is where things can get really exciting and start to feel a little different and unique. You know,
Hmm.
all the way back to your point in the like beginning of like how most stories have been told already, or at
Yeah.
least like largely speaking. Sometimes people can hear that and like, I don't know, maybe be discouraged. And I would say that for like what I would recommend is instead to be challenged,
Yeah.
take it as like a threat of being like, you're not going to be able to tell an original story. And I want you to hear that and go, I'll fucking show
Watch
you.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, hold
Yeah,
my
yeah,
beer,
yeah.
motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for
Exactly.
people. I
Yeah.
want them to
And
like
that
get
is what I
angry when they hear that.
that is kind of what I was
No
trying to
doubt.
say at the beginning,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it is very much like, just because a story has been told that is similar doesn't mean that your story has been told yet. And
yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
that is one of the biggest things. That's one of the biggest things that I really like about D&D in general is the ability to use all of these kind of tropes. And I've got a lot of freaking video game and anime and TV shows and books and all this stuff that I've read and consumed and stuff, and being able to take the stories from that and then retell them in my own words is what I find fun as a dungeon master. Like that's one of my favorite. That's why I do it.
Yeah,
Because it is fun, and then also having your friends being able to explore that story with you is just mwah, it's the best part. I love it.
1,000,000%. So many. I
Mhm.
think that the next couple, before we get into like the room episode idea, I want to
Mhm.
talk about the hero's journey first, because
Sure.
the room episode falls into something like other things I want to talk about too, that are kind of like things that you can find it in so many places, but TV is like a great example
Mhm.
for so many of these, where you can bring up a lot of examples. And so
Yeah.
but first, the hero's journey, because that's about as classic. Not
Mhm.
literally. I'm sure that there are maybe older storytelling tropes, but like now I have to Google the first storytelling trope.
I think it's
I bet it was
Gilgamesh.
kind of like feels
It-
Gilgamesh-y, which is
yeah.
like heroes. I don't know the full story of Gilgamesh to be like, yes, it
I
was hero's journey or not, but
It kind of is.
the
It's been a while
first,
since I read the Epic of Gilgamesh.
yeah, most people are saying the
Standard
it's that
hero's
one.
journey. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the hero's journey, the fastest breakdown of how this breaks down. You start at the ordinary world, you're familiar, your surroundings. Then
Mhm.
two, call to adventure. Gandalf comes, you gotta go.
Yeah.
Refusal of the call. Frodo says, I can't. Meeting the mentor, Aragorn, maybe. Other people also.
Yeah.
You could,
Mhm.
take everything with a grain of salt. Uh, five, crossing the threshold. You're moving on into the special world. Now
Yeah.
we're in the wilderness. We're fucking at with the elves. Things are going crazy. Six, tests, allies, enemies. We're fighting orcs. We're meeting Gimli. We're meeting da da da.
Mhm.
Seven,
Fucking
approach to the
Boromir.
inmost cave. We're in it now, baby. Eight, the ordeal. I got to take this ring all the way to Mordor. Oh no. The
Oh
challenge just
no.
got crazier. Because remember, the original thing wasn't for Frodo to destroy the ring, right? The
Right.
original
Yeah.
thing was take the ring to Rivendell,
Mhm.
and we'll deal with it there.
Right. Right.
uh, number nine, the reward. It's destroyed. The world is safe.
Mhm.
10, the road back. Eagles. 11,
Eagles.
resurrection. I am anew. 12, return with the elixir. All of these are like based on like really specific. And also,
Right.
depending on what source you're looking at, when you type in the hero's journey, they may call these different things. So
Yeah.
take that too. But number 12, return with the elixir. And then it goes back to the ordinary world. And you
Mhm.
kind of start again.
Yeah.
So it's a circle, and it is just a very common way of getting a lot of things, and it falls into so many different categories. You can think of Luke Skywalker this way,
Mhm.
of he's on his ordinary world, he's familiar with Tatooine, and then he gets this unexpected visitor. Now things are thrust upon him and he has to go do this huge adventure. It's
Yeah.
kind of exactly how I did a little bit of Sword Coast Q. You guys are strangers who meet in a tavern, danger is thrust upon you, and you have to you call to adventure. And then you kind of fight it along the way a little bit, because you're like, this, I don't think this is really our fight, but we might as well travel together for safety, just to get out of the range of these giants. And then boom, things just keep progressing, where you're like, the more you know, now it's harder to back away from the call to
Right.
adventure, because you're like,
Right.
well, shit, if the whole world's at stake, I guess we have to. And so then it just keeps progressing you.
Yeah.
It's kind of a hero's journey a little bit. And we're gonna return to Waterdeep eventually, and everything's gonna be hunky dory. The villa's fine.
I believe
The
you.
villa's
I
fine.
I I want to believe you.
I would never lead you astray. That being said, going into the next category, we have like just so many different kinds of tropes that you can find in television specifically, but also in so many different stories. TV didn't invent any of these, they just mass produced them, if you will, to where we
Right.
start to really recognize them. And some of them are hyper specific. Uh, you know what I mean? Like there's all different kinds of things. Like, here's a really specific example. If you watch enough medical dramas, as somebody who has, whether
Mhm.
it's House, whether it's The Resident, whether it's Grey's Anatomy, ER, um, The Pit, it doesn't matter. I
Mhm.
guarantee you 9 out of 10 medical dramas have done an episode about a very specific thing called auto brewery syndrome,
Yes. Yes.
where your body produces yeast in such a way where like
Mhm.
sugar is converted to alcohol and you get yourself drunk from the inside.
Yeah,
And
and
it can be for a number of
everybody,
reasons. Sometimes it's because you used to be an alcoholic and so it's just changed the chemistry of your stomach, all different kinds of reasonings. But they almost always do the same thing with that disorder because just putting the disorder in the episode wouldn't be as big of a deal to me.
right.
I think the laziness, and I only say this because it's like every medical drama does it and they all
Uh-huh.
do it the same way, which is like
Right.
that's where I'm getting annoyed.
Yeah, yeah,
Change it
yeah.
up. Every single one does it the same way. Hey, doc, I'm a former alcoholic and now my wife says she's going to leave me because apparently I said something crazy yesterday and she thinks I'm still drinking, but I'm not. And then they test their
Yeah.
blood and they're like, "Sir, you're drinking." And then he's like, "No, I'm not. I swear. Here's my AA token." And then it's like, we eventually find out that it's auto brewery syndrome.
Yeah.
It's done the same way every time of
Yeah,
like, "I
yeah, yeah.
swear, doc, I'm not drinking." And they're like, "Some patients just lie." And you're like, "God damn,
Yeah,
man."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Another example is every single family sitcom you will ever see, whether
Mhm.
it's Everybody Loves Raymond, whether it's Modern Family, whether it's what's the one with the Wayans brothers? Damn, with the Wayans or something like that. With damn it, I can't think of it. Me and My Children. Oh, it's something like that. Doesn't matter. Every single like family sitcom, right,
Mhm.
is gonna have a vasectomy episode.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Every single one,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
it's gonna
Mhm.
kind of go the same way. It's just a man being very nervous about
About
the
going to,
surgery
yeah.
and all of those things, and lots of like penis jokes that are kind of subtle and not so subtle.
And some not so subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like stuff like that. It's that there will be a vasectomy episode. As long as there's a dad in the thing in the show, there will be a vasectomy episode in the sitcom. Like that happens so much. Um, there's so many different examples of these kinds of things too. Like obviously, like uh, bringing it back to superheroes, another very common thing, the origin story
Mm-hmm.
would be another really big one of like we're so familiar with that, right? Like we've seen that a million times. Also, what about this storytelling trope? The crossover,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
We love us some crossovers.
Seen that a million times. The cliffhanger,
Yep.
all different kinds of things we've seen a million times. Uh God, there really is so many. I'm looking through different like websites of different kinds of uh what are they called? Like switches.
Hmm.
There's one that's just called like the beanstalk episode. The idea of like there's some kind of episode that's going to parody Jack and the Beanstalk a little bit.
Right.
That is like common enough that it's on this website. There
Yeah.
might be an episode called the noir episode, an episode shot in the of film noir, black and white visuals, first person narrations are usually mandatory. You see that a lot with shows that are very long running. The
Yeah.
Simpsons will explore different things like this, or a show like Supernatural
Hmm.
would explore something like this, where they might have an episode that's all black and white, or they might do like the musical
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Another great show for this kind of stuff. Like if you're interested in storytelling, but also you just want to watch like a funny show, highly recommend the show Community.
Yeah.
Straight up,
They
based
they
on the
really
time period that it came out and Chevy Chase, there's going to be some jokes that straight up are
not
crazy.
great. Yeah.
But Dan Harmon is a great storyteller, and that show crushes. And they also do things in a meta way because of the character of Abed being like, "Oh, this is our kettle episode where we're in one room."
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Another
I do
example of
love the
like,
meta-ness of Abed. Obviously, he's my favorite character on the show. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, they even did, getting back to the Groundhog Day episode, they did a Groundhog Day episode, or rather what if episode. They had
Oh,
one,
with the
there's
dice
one
rolling.
episode, yes, they had one episode where they're sitting there and they're all rolling dice to see who's going to go downstairs to go get the pizza. And depending on who pops up, something else happens in the apartment because that person is not there to either put out like a fire between friends or like to soothe somebody or to be there for somebody, and it just kind of
Hmm.
spirals out of control. It ends up, and then at the end, the way that they ended that episode, I really liked because it was like, hey, by the way, none of this actually happened because some crazy shit happens. Like somebody gets shot, there's a fire broke out in the apartment, like
Yeah, there's like
everybody's fucked up.
relationship
And
stuff.
then they,
Yeah.
yeah, and then they go, and then it's like, okay, actually, no, we're gonna go back to the dice roll, and we're gonna go roll the dice. Oh, nope, Abed grabbed it out of the air. That's it. That's the end of the episode.
Which is the one that makes the most sense because he would have
Yes,
stopped it before it even happened.
right, right. He saw the writing on the wall.
He's like, "You're creating a multiverse." No.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so funny. Um, I think that other kinds of storytelling tropes, um, the reason that these are helpful is because it just gives you such a good starting point. It gives you things to fall back on and lean on throughout
Right.
your process. Because at any point, you can be like, I kind of don't know what to do next. Well, I have a great place for you to look for inspiration, and that's the trope.
Mhm.
Because to keep it as binary and kind of as simple as possible, you look at the trope and you go, yes or no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like pretty simple in terms of like, uh, you can have like a very common trope romance between two characters of highly different status.
Hmm.
Do they get together? Do they not? Are you
Right.
playing into the trope? Or are you not playing into the trope? Um, uh, oh my gosh, I'm trying to look at, there's so many different ones
Yeah.
here. When you have like characters that are bound by circumstance, but they don't like each other, or they're just like
Hmm.
personality wise very, very different.
Yeah.
This person gives an example of like a priest and a vampire
That would be an interesting story.
kind of thing. Yeah. But they have to work together.
Hmm.
It kind of goes to your lesser of two evils kind of vibe.
Yeah. 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 I'm also looking through some of these. There's the zombie apocalypse episode of The Dead is the list
Mm,
on this one of like, there you're somewhere and you got to do the Walking Dead thing of sneaking around, trying not to get the attention of the zombies, and then oh no, here comes the zombies, and you've got to fight off hordes or figure out a way to escape that type of
yep.
situation.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Um, uh,
Um,
par- Parents for a Day is a good one too. Of the
Parents
characters
for a
have
day.
the characters get some a child is has been thrust upon the party for whatever reason, and they have to care for this child.
Oh, that is very common.
Hmm.
Oh, that's a fun one. Yeah, I was
Hmm.
thinking of something a little different. That's a really fun one. I'm thinking of the trope that you see a lot in shows where the parents and the kids are arguing in the first part of the episode where they're like, "You think it's easy being a kid? Well, you
Oh,
think it's
Freaky
easy being your
Friday.
mom?" And
Yeah.
they switch positions.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
like, "Well, then I'm going to your job." And then like the kids are actually doing a really good job and you're like, "Damn, what?" And the parents are like, "House is a mess. I don't give a shit." They did it in Family Guy.
Yeah.
They did that where like Meg cooks like a genuinely good meal and she's like, "Yeah, I don't know what your fucking deal is. It was really easy. I didn't have anything to do all day." Just like, which is like a really mean and dumb thing, but
Yeah.
still. Oh God. Yeah, I think that like, man, it just helps me so much with this kind of stuff of where to start and like
Hmm.
then you can get a little more creative. You can start combining tropes. For example, like to keep beating a dead horse, like Oops All Healers, combining medical drama with fantasy.
Hmm.
So, like, we have some ideas. Elves have been
Yeah.
around for a really long time, but also medical drama stuff. So, taking it one more specific, there's a common trope amongst medical dramas where you have the episode where they're not at the hospital, the unfamiliar location episode,
Hmm.
right? Like, and that happens throughout all of TV as well. You see that in other things also. You know what I mean? Like You might even from like a cop procedural, maybe they have to travel and they have to go to like a different town because that's where the
Right.
jurisdiction is or whatever, you know? Um, so we did that in Oops All Healers. So now you're combining fantasy tropes. We're combining the tropes of D&D medical drama or medical
Hmm.
dramas in general.
Right.
We're doing the trope of an unfamiliar location episode. So now they're at a free clinic in Sewer City instead of
Hmm.
being at the hospital.
Hmm.
So then there's all those kinds of tropes. So it's just like pulling all these different things together. It's truly like you have a deck of playing cards and you can mix and match them in different fun ways so that you can try and be as creative and as original as possible and do things a little differently,
Hmm.
you know? Uh, another, I mean, there's so many
There
different kinds of
really
things.
are.
I can't believe we haven't said this word a single time in all of our trope talk. We say it all the time too, and we didn't say it. I'll give you a hint. It starts with an M. MacGuffin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is a trope. That sure is. It's so crazy when people say, "Hey, think about this thing. I know you know it." And my brain immediately just goes, it starts making the AOL dial-up sound and
Yeah.
I there's there's nothing going
You're
on.
like, I don't know it.
Uh uh.
Um, but yeah, that's definitely one, right?
Hmm.
Just the
Go
very
get a thing.
classic.
Yeah, go get a thing.
You
It
have a
doesn't really
thing.
do
It's
anything.
an important object that pushes the story forward,
Right.
like a physical thing. It's the Maltese Falcon. It's the um, I can't think of a single other thing. I'm literally blanking. Uh,
It's the Infinity Stones
there you go.
in
Thank you so
Avengers.
much.
It's like
Woof.
you got to go get this thing, and the thing will move the story forward.
Yeah,
It's could be this all powerful thing, but really and honestly, the only thing that it's there to do is to move the story forward.
yeah. Another example of it's like a storytelling trope, but it's also like I almost think of it as like a technique, like a literary technique. But you can use it a lot and you can apply it to characters, but it can
Hmm.
also be it's a storytelling thing. And that's like Chekhov's gun.
Mm,
And so you could make it a character thing. And I didn't invent this. I'm reading off of like a website,
yeah.
Chekhov's gunman. And it's kind of the same vibe of like introducing this character where like you're watching them, you're learning that they have all these sets of skills. It would be like meeting the the dude from Taken, Liam Neeson, but
Hmm.
you don't know that he's going to do all of these things. You just know that he has the skills.
Right.
And so you're kind of like, surely he's going to have to use those skills. Why would they tell me that he's got the skills if we're not going to see him use the skills? So you're starting to kind of like
Right.
put the things together because for people unfamiliar, Chekhov's gun is the idea that like if there's a scene in a book and we're in a bar, and the author takes the time to describe a gun on the wall,
Hmm.
then Chekhov's gun, this theory or this like principle, if you will, kind of like sets into motion this idea that like the only reason we're going to describe that gun is because that gun is going to become important later on.
Right.
There's no point in describing the gun if you're not going to shoot the gun.
Right. Chekhov
Um,
being the engineer from the original Star Trek series.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Anton Chekhov, the
Hmm.
Russian writer, and also from Star Trek guy. Uh, So, so many different ones. There's a lot of fun little tropes and things you can think of. And it goes so you can get even more specific with it. You can keep dialing in more and more and more, um, even to like very simple things. If I'm playing a doctor character,
Hmm.
I'm wearing a lab coat, I have a stethoscope, I might have like a clipboard or an iPad. Like there's like things that play into the trope of being a doctor.
Hmm.
Like, how's my bedside manner? Do I have a shitty signature because my handwriting is fucking batshit crazy? You know, like
Yeah.
you can go so in depth. How's my med school debt? do my family put a lot of pressure on me to do this medical job? You know, like how tropey do we want to get?
Right.
Right? Like it really can get so intense and so fun. So many different tropes. My goodness. Um, there's different tropes of how to specifically tell the story. We mentioned the time ones using like Groundhog's Day, time
Mm,
loops, that kind of stuff. There's also like you can do the types of character of like storytelling where like we're gonna look into some side characters for a day. So we're
yeah.
gonna do a first person look at these other things. There's also like um the beach episode
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Classic episode. The beach. Everything's kind of low stakes.
Yeah,
And then the other one I just came across this in one of the lists is the deadly game, where it's you're playing a game, but if you lose, you fucking die.
yeah, yeah.
That kind of
Saw
a that
Jumanji.
kind of a situation.
So
Yeah.
many,
Yeah.
so many. Battleship.
Hmm
Don't sleep on the movie
hmm
Battleship, dude. Rihanna's in it. She wears a hat. She must have been going through a weird phase because she wears a hat. She has short hair and she wears a hat throughout the entire movie. I'm not kidding. That hat does not fall off her head throughout explosions, jumping into the water, being on a boat, going
It just
full
pinned in
as
place.
fast as possible. That hat is secure. That's the U.S. Navy for you, baby. We're pinning hats like nobody's business. No, it's but truly, that's another really good one. That's really
Mm,
common. Uh, man, it really is like so exciting because you can really find all these lists online of different kinds of
yeah.
ideas for things, and then you can slowly build onto those. The entire like a massive storytelling technique or trope, the multiverse idea.
Yeah. hmm A what if
Hey, oh,
episode. Yeah.
TPK, don't worry. There's another multiverse or whatever. You know what I mean? You know,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, I want to retell this story, but I still want that other thing to be canon. What can I do? Oh, wait, I'll just do what every comic book thing has ever done. Duh. Multiverse.
Right. Right.
No, guys, this is Earth 546. You idiots. You fucking plebs. You don't know.
Yep. Yep.
So I love tropes, man. I love going against them big time because I just think it's fun and it's like
hmm
an easier way for me to feel like I'm like doing something different.
Right.
Not even that, like, because let's be honest, going against tropes is just as common these days as going with tropes because like
Yeah.
we're at the point of so many stories being told. Obviously, we have massive Hollywood studios who can't seem to tell a new story, so they have to just constantly depend on sequels and reboots. Uh, the sequel and the reboot being two different storytelling techniques in a
Yep.
way.
Yep.
So, Jesus, like we could keep going on and on and on. And I think that we should, but we
Mhm.
might have to save some for another episode. Because, gang, guess what? I have a quick note that I want to say really quickly before we get into our favorite segment.
Sure.
So, the year's 2012. I'm getting ready to go on a uh, alternative break. I was in this program in at the University of Maryland called Alternative Breaks, where I was leading this group. I had been a volunteer the previous year, and now I'm going to be a leader for it with my friend Emily, and we have our chaperone Jeremiah, and we got this group of like 15, everything from seniors to freshmen, like everything in between, like you know that part doesn't matter. But we're going to Chicago, and the theme of the trip, if you will, is homelessness and hunger. As you can imagine, you go into that understanding that yourself and everybody that you're going with and society at large has a lot of stereotypes, has a lot of tropes, if you will, because a stereotype is kind of just a trope in a different way.
Mhm.
You have a lot of stereotypes about homelessness, about people who experience homelessness and hunger and who are, you know, suffering poverty or what have you. Um, there's a lot of like implicit biases that you just contain. You may not even think about it because depending on where you live and how you commute and whatever your day to day is, maybe you don't experience that a lot. You don't see it in your day to day, whatever. So what can happen because of that is your familiarity, your relationship with people who experience homelessness, instead of it being a varied approach and being open-minded and getting a lot of different stories so that your view is as diverse as the truth of the matter,
Mhm.
there's the idea of the concept of the danger of a single story. If your
Mhm.
familiarity with homeless people is only a TV show you watched where they're doing drugs and this and that, the problem with that is that it can fuck up your brain where you're making assumptions that just aren't true.
Right.
It can be true anecdotally, perhaps, but that does not necessarily mean that it should be painted with a broad stroke. Right. And that's where we
Mhm.
get into like the negative sides of both tropes and stereotypes. So this might seem a little cheesy to some of our listeners. Most of you guys, I have faith in you that you kind of already get this, but I feel like this is an important point. And I talked to Taylor before it and he said I could talk about it. So I'm going to talk about it. So at that like training for that, I remember we watched it with our entire group. We watched a TED Talk, which I'm going to now highly recommend for everybody to go check out. You can just go to Google and type in the danger of a single story TED Talk and it'll come up. But there's an African woman, and I'm going to probably mispronounce her name. I apologize in advance. But Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie does this TED Talk, and it's just fucking awesome. It's one of those where like you're gonna sit there for like 20 or less minutes, and you're gonna walk away feeling different, feeling changed. Like obviously TED Talks have like the ability to kind of do that sometimes anyway, because we put them on a pedestal. TED Talk as like an organization, I mean, like we think that
Right.
just like, oh, somebody has a TED Talk, they must, what they're saying is fact. This is one of
Right.
those times where it just hits, man. Now obviously she's talking from her own perspective, but she's talking about, and as white people we can relate to this, the idea that like when you hear about Africa, if you only are receiving the story of like huts and poverty and civil war and this and that and danger and whatever, then your interpretation, your like understanding of Africa is being warped by the
Right.
lack of stories. You're not getting a diverse view. You're not getting all the different viewpoints. By relation, you're potentially making some dangerous stereotypes. Just some incorrect facts. It's just like a you're not getting all the information, right?
Mhm.
Your sample size isn't enough, which is why it's so important to tell stories and to consume stories, a wide variety of stories. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so that's kind of what I wanted to say really quickly. It's just like I think it's really important to listen to different viewpoints and stories from different cultures and different peoples and stuff like that, because you're going to learn a lot more.
Yeah.
And it's what has led Taylor and I to having radical empathy and giving a shit about people who don't look like us. Because, yeah, I've never been in Delaney Hall, but I'm hearing what they're saying about it and the demands of the strikers and stuff like that. And you know
Mhm.
what? I like that sucks. That needs to stop. So I'm hearing that story and I want to, you know what I mean?
Help do
So,
something. Yeah.
so
Anyway.
thank you for letting me say that. Let's get on to the segment that we're all waiting for. We're ready for it. Taylor's got an exciting entry for it. It's that time of the week again, gang. It's Monster of the Week. Oh, okay.
Okay.
What do you got for us, Taylor?
So this week we have the Aklut. AKHLUT. It is an Inuit myth. It is a spirit that takes the form of both a wolf and an orca, sometimes at the same time. It's a vicious, dangerous beast. The tracks can be recognized because they're wolf tracks that lead to and from the ocean. Often, dogs seen walking to the ocean and or into it are considered evil. Little is known of the spirit other than it shapeshifts from an orca to a wolf when it's hungry. And yeah, it's a Inuit shapeshifter. that is scary. It is a wolf. Some of the artistic depictions on this are crazy. Like one of them is just a wolf with the dorsal fin, and then another one is the most cursed thing you've ever seen in your life, with long, scary legs and like a weird. It reminds me of like the sandworms from Beetlejuice face,
Oof.
the teeth and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say that this also could be a D&D monster as well. I'm not sure if it's
I
already
know that
has.
they have it in Tome of Beasts.
Okay.
Tome of Beasts has one of these, and if I'm not mistaken, they call it this as well.
The Acklet. Yeah.
I'm
And
almost positive. And they went more like the artwork on the bottom, more like four-legged orca.
Right.
As opposed to furry wolf with dorsal,
Mhm.
which is kind of the funnier way of doing this, being like, get this, it's an orca wolf. And you go, okay, cool. How much orca? How much wolf? Not much orca, actually, believe it or not. Just kind of the fin.
Just a little bit of orca.
Oh. Okay.
So there are a couple of stories of how it came to be, but the one that is the most popular is about a man who's obsessed with the sea and wants to be with it all the time. After he comes off the shore, he returns to the village, but his people don't recognize him because he's become too obsessed with the ocean.
He gets banned.
He gets banned from the village because he likes the ocean too much. And then while he's out on his own, he finds a pack of wolves, and because he's so hungry like a wolf, for revenge, he becomes one of them. He becomes a wolf. And then his affection for the ocean becomes so insane that he jumps into the ocean as a wolf to be with it, and then he turns into an orca. So now he swims as an orca, and then whenever he gets hungry for revenge, he will come onto the shore as a wolf and eat you. So like these weird hybrid things, the way that I'm reading this, it's like the weird hybrid thing is not actually what it is. It's like the dude goes in the water. I'm imagining more animorphs and less like cursed were orca thing. You know, like he turns into an orca. Like it's an orca in the water and it's a wolf on the land.
Yeah. That's what I'm seeing as well. It looks like over time, popular media got a hold of it. Kind of started changing some stuff up. We love a hybrid. We do love a hybrid. I mean, talking about storytelling tropes, you got the old man in the sea.
Yeah. There you go.
Are you kidding me? Right there, you got
it. I mean, that's classic crazy. Revenge on a town.
Raised by Wolves is also like in and of itself a super classic. It goes all the way back to like the legends about the founding of Rome. Like Ramus and Remulus and the she-wolf kind of thing.
Yeah.
Being raised by wolves is like a crazy old
legend literally a tale as old as time.
It's nuts. That's actually so crazy thinking about that. Wow.
And that honestly probably comes from the fact that when humanity was much younger, it tended to take the children that were not so healthy and just put them out in the woods and leave them there.
I don't believe it.
And then, yep. So that story of being raised by wolves is supposed to be one of triumph and overcoming the odds of being a sickly baby in the woods.
Hell yeah.
But anyway, that's enough about tropes. That's all we can get into this time. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at So You Want to Be a DM, or you can ask us a question at soyouwanttobeadm@gmail.com. If you like the episode, don't forget to give us 5 stars and a review wherever you found us, and check out the Patreon, our Twitch, and the merch with the link in the description. Join us next time for more Dungeon Master tips and tricks.
Bye!
See ya!
Hey gang, it's Justin. I have the honor of giving a shout out to the members of our Patreon gang. Nut Muffins, may Palor's light shine upon you. Marsavies, have you watered your flesh prison lately? Yazvai, the eternal library, where color and community await you. Malia Deza, who gets yet another level up. Amy Rose Zero, today, don't forget to touch grass, be kind, and resist fascism. And there's Caden, Elijah, Tappy, and Linguini. Gang, we appreciate and love you. Tune in next time for more tips and tricks from So You Want to Be a DM.